There we go. Hello, Facebook Live. Welcome once again to another behind the scenes recording of our show. Today is the 18th of March. I'm here with Sports Guy Tom from GHR Radio.
Hello.
This is a very weird, interesting show because we are now in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. One of the things we do for our show is we just kind of do our show. I know there's a lot of politics and stuff happening, so if it doesn't directly affect our show, we don't really talk about it. So we'll be talking a lot coronavirus just a little bit because it's affecting everything. But as you're well aware, there are other sources out there so you guys can listen to if you want to hear that stuff. Our job is to do our show, and it has happened many times with other massive tragedy events that we still just do our show, and that's what we do. So in case you're worried about that, that's going to happen. I have to do some house cleaning. So I am here by myself with Tom, which is weird.
Happy to be here.
Just trying to keep everybody trying to get that whole contact thing down. So our senior correspondent, Charles Saladino, is fine. Dominic Definition Man, Pronto Comics, is fine. And our newest co-host, The Life with Jenner G's, Jenna Lee Sfeldy, is fine, but I didn't want them to come into the studio. We're also going to be airing a interview from the PowCon, so that's going to be most of our show, so it's only going to be a little bit of time. We'll air it. I'll be talking with Tom for some stuff, so you can actually we'll be playing the interview. So if you want to listen to that, you can listen to that. If you want to hear us just BS for a little bit, you can hear that too. And as of right now, things may change. Our next live show will be on April 15th at the Semana Mall. It's to be our 31st live show with Kelly Gordon, who is running the MCon, which still has not been postponed and or canceled. Everything's going by a very short time. So as of right now, we're still there. So if you want to come down, we'll be giving away free passes and stuff, whatever. If you're able to, come. If not, stay home and be safe. And I think that's it for the house cleaning. Also, one other thing I wanted to mention is the Big Apple Con, which I'll be mentioning on our show, has been canceled. So really, for sure, the Big Apple Con, it's been postponed until a later date. So that's we'll keep you informed with that. But otherwise, we are ready for our show.
Okay.
So start recording.
Oh wait, actually, hold on one second.
Oh, wait.
I apologize. I just wanted. It is not recording in the correct spot. Three,
It's not recording. In the
two,
spot.
1.
It's not lighting. Oh, there it is.
The following is brought to you in part by MFC Studios. The views of the show's host and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the management, owners, or staff of this radio station. And now, it came from the radio.
Yapatoy, and welcome once again to It Came From Radio, the official show of the Big Apple Con. This is your host, Mark Torres, speaking. With me in the GHR studio, we have our engineer, sports guy, Tom.
Hello, hello.
He will be joining me for today's adventure. Everyone else is staying home and are safe from the coronavirus that's going on, so we are doing our part. This week's show is going to be an interesting one, only because we have going to air an interview which is chock full of curses. So, when we play the interview, you guys listening to it on our demand or on the podcast, or right now, if you go to the YouTube page, which you're listening to, or the Facebook Live, you'll be able to hear the unedited, cursey version. But then when it gets edited, and they will be on the actual radio stations that we do broadcast on. It will be unedited. So if you guys are listening to us right now, which is in the future, because I'm talking to us in the past, if you're listening to us then, if you want to hear the full unedited version, go to the podcast places, of which are Overcast, Pocket Cast, iHeartRadio, Google Play, iTunes, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Spotify, Podbean, Player FM, Soundcast, Acast, Castbox, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podmus, Luminary, Blueberry, Mixcloud, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Apple Podcasts, Addict, Castro, Pandora, Podchaser. You can ask Alexa or Siri, or you can go to our YouTube page, or you can go to our Facebook Live page, which is what's happening now, and as I'm speaking now, and as you're listening to it, and you can hear the unedited version. But so if you're really interested, because there's gonna be a lot of beeps, I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of cursing, so much cursing. I think he has now broken the record for the most amount of cursing ever in any interview I've ever done in my life.
That's crazy.
And as for a guest, the most we've ever had was 2 curses. You know?
Really?
2, yes.
Oof.
So this is way more than 2. It's very interesting. You guys will be hearing it shortly. But before we do that, we're going to take it away with the news. Oh, where's my button? Oh, my paper's on the wrong side. Where is it? It's over here. Here with the news. All right, that's not it.
It's morphin' time!
The news is brought to you in part by the fine folks of the Big Apple Con, of which we are the official radio show of, celebrating over 25 years of pop culture news and comic book stuff. For more information, go to www.bigapplecc.com. Their next convention has been postponed, so it was supposed to be on April 4th and 5th, with guests such as Jim Lee and none other than the original Green Ranger, Jason David Frank. The website shows that it's been postponed. I believe they're either giving refunds for people who cannot make it, and I think they're honoring tickets for the next show, which
That's
if
awesome.
they do it. So you're set. So you just go to the website. You know, if you want your refund, you go ask for a refund, or you can just get your ticket moved on to when the next convention will be, because they will have another one. I am 100% sure, unless the world stops moving, they will have another Big Apple convention soon. And also, I want to throw a shout out to Mythic Games. That's www.mythicgamesny.com on 2711 Hempstead Turnpike. You can follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and
Oh, yeah,
Discord.
I think they're right down the street.
Yeah, they're right down the
Yeah.
street. Yeah, so I want to
Okay.
give them a shout out because they cross promote for us.
Oh, awesome.
And also want to give our Patreons a shout out, for which there are Danny Grillo, award-winning director Jared Burrell, Two Sentence Horror, Kyle Horn, Millie Portez, Newsday famous Dresden Media, Unji-kun, and new father Shadow Rabbit Art. So if you guys want to have your own little shout out, go to www.patreon.com, and just for $1, you can get your own little shout out on our show. So now let's take it away with the news. We always start with sad news, so hit that the thing on the not that one.
Yep, this
yeah,
one
that
right here.
Yes. Actor Lyle Waggoner, whom I always thought his name was Wagner, died recently after what is being called a short illness. Lyle was in such films as, here we go, Swamp Country, Journey to the Center of Time, Gypsy Angels, Murder Weapon, Danger USA, Dream a Little Evil, and Dead Women in Lingerie, just to name a few. I now want to see Dead Women in Lingerie. In addition to on the small screen, Lyle appeared in such shows as Gunsmoke, the original Lost in Space, The Governor and JJ, Marcus Welby, MD, the original Love Boat, Happy Days, the original Fantasy Island, the original Charlie's Angels, Mork and Mindy, Murder, She Wrote, Hardcastle and McCormick, Simon and Simon, The Golden Girls, That 70s Show, and The War at Home, just to name a few. Of course, Lyle is most famous for that of Steve Trevor in the original Wonder Woman TV series from 1976 to 1979, and is for a 182 episode stint as part of the ensemble cast of The Carol Burnett Show, which ran from 1967 to 1974. Of note, Lyle was in Running, and there's a screen test of this on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, you can check it out, for none other than Bruce Wayne in the 1966 Batman TV series. And as a nod to that, Lyle appeared in the made-for-TV reunion movie Batman Return to the Batcave, The Misadventures of Adam and Bert, as the narrator, which brought back all the surviving members of the original cast in the show 2003. He was 84. Holy crap, I timed that so well.
That was so.
Oh my god!
That was unbelievably perfect. Oh my god. That is just serendipitous.
Wow. And I'll tell you this, I did not plan it that way.
It's like you're a professional.
Wow, there we go. There we go. You get another one of that.
There we go.
Thank you, studio
Oh yeah,
audience.
take the victory lap.
So moving on to our regular news. I can't even say it's not sad news, it's just regular news.
Yeah.
From the, there's a lot of reading. From the This Is How the Zombie Apocalypse Started department. Emerald City Comic Con, Reed Pop's second biggest convention after New York Comic Con, has been postponed to the coronavirus concerns. Executives say, "We want to create a space for you to gather, to be yourselves, and make memories with those who matter to you most. We have been closely monitoring the situation around the world with the COVID-19 virus in Seattle, and after many hours and conversation internally and consultation with the government officials and the Tourism Bureau, we have decided to move next week's, which was last week's, I believe, Emerald City Comic Con to summer 2020. Date and details to be announced forthcoming. We did everything that we could to run the event as planned, but ultimately we are following the guidance of local public health officials indicating that the convention should not be postponed. Our hearts go out to the entire Seattle community, everyone impacted by the virus, and all of you, nearly 100,000 amazing human beings who look forward to this event each year. Our team was incredibly excited to see you at Emerald City Comic Con next week. However, fans, artists, and exhibitors and the rest of the community are what make Reed Pop events so special, and it is our duty to make sure that your safety comes first. Whew. We know that this discussion is going to greatly impact the lives of individual creators, small businesses, and service workers, those whose careers depend on us. We will do everything that we can to over the coming days and weeks to highlight your work, and that we ask the entire community to support you as we realize your personal livelihood may be impacted. To all our fans, you will receive a refund on your tickets. No further action is needed to take on your part. Due to the volume, we expect you will receive your refund in 30 days. We appreciate your patience and understanding. Reed Pops remains determined and committed to running Emerald City Comic Con in 2020 and are working closely with the Seattle and Washington State Convention Centers to secure alternate dates this summer as we explore options for the next few dates. Please know it is a priority to bring you an equally amazing event. We appreciate that all messages that have received over the past week. Feedback was invaluable in helping us determine the next steps. Stay tuned to our website for channel and additional information about when we will see you in Seattle. So the reason I read that whole thing is because by the time this news was made to now, everything else has been like canceled. So that kind of is a good blanket statement for everything that's been canceled.
Absolutely.
What was interesting about this event, it was one of the first ones that decided to announce their cancellation.
Yeah.
I believe this was before NBA decided to cancel, but it might have been around the same time.
Okay.
So it was like a chain reaction of events. But what makes this one interesting is that before they decided to announce that they were closing, vendors and celebrities and people were like, yeah, we're not going to go. So it kind of forced their hand back then. I mean, now we have quarantines.
Yeah, it would have happened anyway. Yeah.
But back then, it was interesting of how the people dictated what they were going to do. And they're like, well, if everybody's not going to show up, we want to have the best convention, so let's close it now.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of a smart thing to do, as opposed to we're gonna do it until we can't do it.
Well, because I feel like if they would have been that type of way where they were trying to force, so we're gonna do it, you may alienate the people that are looking to go. Like if you're telling them, like, look, this is for everybody's safety, everybody's comfort. We're gonna cancel it for now. Maybe postpone it to a later date. You know, people are like, okay, I can kind of get behind that. Maybe if this fits my schedule when you decide to have it up again, I will absolutely come on down. You're not forcing a convention down my throat.
Correct.
You know?
And what was interesting is that a lot of artists, which are independent artists, as they mentioned, that's their livelihood being at conventions. Yeah. They a lot of them did like online chats, online conventions. They had online. You can still buy their stuff from them online. You can still do that. You can still support them in any way you can online. Yeah. So even though you're not at a convention, you can't. They'll sign stuff. They'll mail it out. So you can work with the artists. They'll still do commissions. Even the convention center, the Reed Pop, has been like a spotlight on all the people that would have been there. Like, oh, by the way, check out this stuff. So they are doing some things. And it has spilled from when this happened to movie theaters are closed, movies closed, productions, TV productions, Broadway is closed, all sports, like no sports.
You're telling me, man, it's been brutal.
and we were talking before the show, a sports guy telling myself about the XFL. Like, how long ago do you remember when was the first time he did it? Like 5 years, 6 years ago? Maybe more, 10 years.
The first time the XFL was around? Yeah, it was probably about like 10 years ago.
So 10 years ago, Vince McMahon, who runs WWE, was like, I want to have a football organization. He did it for 1 year, and it failed miserably.
Flopped.
So then he's like, well, I'm going to wait another 10 years. I'm going to do it again. And then this happens. Like, he must have like the worst luck.
Yeah, fate does not want him to have a football league. It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, I don't know, man. I hope it comes back once everything settles down.
Right.
But it's just like Vince, man. You might need to stick to wrestling.
If you do it again next year, what's going to happen? Like,
Yeah.
do you want to tempt the fates? But
Yeah.
it's weird how a lot of these things are just shutting down bit by bit by bit, and that's a lot of the news. So speaking of the coronavirus, from the Die Another Day department, MGM and Universal has announced that the next James Bond film, No Time to Die, will be delayed until release until November, rather than a scheduled release date of April 10th in theaters. Release citing concerns for the coronavirus. But this one was different in my mind because they were one of the first movies that announced that they weren't going to have their premiere. What was interesting is that the film had been getting flack for other reasons, much like when the Charlie's Angels was getting flack. And there was one other one, The Birds of Prey, was getting flack. So I believe, well, at least this is for the James Bond film because they have been. I stay away from trailers, but you still hear things.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how there's going to be a black female James Bond.
Yeah.
In this new movie, and it was getting a lot of heat. A lot of backlash.
Of course, it's gonna.
So at the time when they decided to announce it, I think that they were just like, you know what? We're going to try to distance ourselves from any problems at all, which will affect our box office.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they were doing it out of a concern for the people. I think they were doing a concern for their bottom line.
Oh, I totally agree with you. They looked at this as maybe thinking of it as like a blessing and a curse for them is a harsh way of saying it. But they looked at it like, oh my God, we have an opportunity to close, and this movie isn't getting the public review that we would like. We're going to do it. We're just going to say, oh, sorry, coronavirus is here. We're going to cancel, or we're going to push this back.
And they decided to distance themselves because sad to say, the American populace has a very short attention span.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time this movie comes out, they all would have forgotten about this, and then would have had the big release as they're planning.
Oh, yeah.
This reminds me of Avatar, the original, now the second highest grossing movie of all time, Avatar. When Avatar came out, no one thought it was going to do what it did.
No.
And that first weekend, there was a snowstorm in New York. There was a major snowstorm.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
So when the numbers came in, they're like, oh, this movie's a flop. This is this. It's the end of this. And then the second week it picked up because the snowstorm was over. And then it became the longest running movie at number one. I think it was 13 weeks at number one. Highest grossing movie of all time up until, the other day, which is Avengers Endgame came along and kicked it out. But, it's how they love to play the numbers. So they were ready planning to say, oh, well, because of this or because of that, which is stuff that they're doing right now. Like as I mentioned, Charlie's Angels came out. As soon as it underperformed, they're like, oh, this is because of this, this is because of that. And in my opinion, what it is that it's marketing, because the initial numbers of any movie is what the people drive to go see it. It's not how good or bad the movie in and of itself is. Yeah. It's the buzz, it's the marketing of the movie, which is that first initial push.
Oh, yeah.
So whenever they say, oh, this movie underperformed because it wasn't good, like, well, no. It's because they didn't market it correctly. They didn't push it correctly.
Oh, absolutely. They were actually. I know you're not a Disney person, but the movie Onward just recently came out, and it didn't do well initially and a lot of people are saying it's because they didn't market it correctly to everybody. Like, not enough people knew that this movie was even happening.
Right.
So it flopped at the box office. When as I am a little biased, like I said, grew up Disney. Of a lot of their movies. I loved it. I thought it was a great movie, and I thought it didn't deserve to be considered like a flop by any means. But people didn't know about it. People didn't know when it was coming or how like how often it was going to be there.
And so, but then when they blame stuff, they never blame that. They never blame that. They always blame the was it social justice warriors? This. Yep. They blame this. They're like all those reasons. Well, no, it's about marketing. And look, the Captain Marvel. They were saying, oh, that's gonna flop, that's gonna this, that's gonna that. But they had so much money, they shoved that movie down your throat. The marketing was there. Yeah. Good, bad, or indifferent of how that movie was. People came that first weekend because of the marketing, not how good the movie was.
Because it was in your face everywhere.
Right. So that's something that you have to think about when you have that complaint, like, oh, this movie. No, it's the initial. That's not saying, because of social media and everything moves so fast that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it will change. So if you have a drop off, so if a lot of people come in on that Thursday or that Friday, and then it drops off Saturday and Sunday, that's because it's a bad movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But if the whole weekend is about the same, like, well, then the people who went to see it, and that was it. There was no.
Yeah, just because it didn't hit on the opening night doesn't mean it's necessarily, like you're saying, necessarily mean a bad movie. Like, it might not hit opening night on that Friday, but Saturday, Sunday, people are packing the theaters for it.
Right.
You know?
And I would go to Shrek was one of the few movies that did better the second weekend than it did the first, just by word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because people want to see it, and then it actually went up. It's one of the few movies that actually go up the following week after being released. So that's just one of those things. On a more positive note, NBC Universal has decided to make its most recent film releases available at home from on-demand faster than originally planned, going live on home the same day that the movies would have hit theaters, because theaters are now closed. So that's kind of cool.
That's great.
Executives say, given the rapid, evolving, and unprecedented changes to consumers' daily lives during this difficult time, the company felt that now was the right time to provide this option in the home as well as in theaters. Well, this is before the theaters closed. NBC Universal will continue to evaluate the environment and conditions involved and will determine the best distribution strategy in each market. Will current unique situation changes. Universal Pictures has a broad and diverse range of movies, with 2020 being no exception. Rather than delaying these films or releasing them into a challenged distribution landscape, that's interesting, we wanted to provide an option for people to view these titles in home, and is both accessible and affordable. Hope and believe that people will still go to the movies in theaters when they are available. We will understand that people in different areas in the world that is increasingly difficult, becoming less and less possible to do so. So that's interesting. What is also interesting is that this goes back, I'm going to say, geez, what do you remember when the interview came out? The movie The Interview, Seth?
Wasn't that?
I'm gonna say it
was like 5 years ago.
I
think it might have been around there.
Maybe
like
more than 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
As you may remember, I used to work at a movie theater. So one of the things that the movie theaters, working in a movie theater, you find out that the movie theater companies, the distributors, don't like the movie theaters. So Warner Brothers does not like movie theater companies. Paramount doesn't like movie theater companies. They don't like AMC. They don't like those guys because they're basically a middleman to get their money, because you have to pay them or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you're cutting off the profits. So for years, I've mentioned this before on the show, for years, the movie industry has been trying to figure out how to circumnavigate the movie theater.
Yeah.
And when they were going to have The Interview, that was their first major movie release. And because of all that stuff that happened around that time, with North Korea was, I think it was like
they were threatening to attack.
Cyber attack, yeah.
Yeah.
So it interfered with how well that movie did on the streaming, because it was released on streaming and in theaters at the same time, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't do the numbers that they were hoping, because if it had done it at that time, that was the plan. That was what they were banking on. If that movie did well, they were going to move away from movie theaters and just send it directly to people. So when I went to this movie theater conference, this is when the movie 300, the second 300 movie was coming out. So this was like, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was in the conference and they were talking about that. The movie theaters was talking about, what do we do? The movie executives from different companies came down to promote their movies, what was coming out. And I'll never forget this for as long as I live. The vice president of Warner Bros. At the time, was like this really 100-year-old man, came down. And he was talking about these movies like it was nothing. It was just like, yeah, this movie's going to do this, whatever. He had no enthusiasm about the product. He just knew about the numbers and the...
He just cared about the bottom line.
So that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to... The goal was, at that time, which is to stream anything directly to you. You're driving in the car, stream the movie directly to the car. You're in the phone, stream it directly to you. Cut out the middleman, and they'll make more money that way. Movie theaters are like, well, should we sell a DVD when people are leaving? They were still trying to figure it out. So now that we're in this situation where movie theaters are closed, the movie theater industry is like, yeah, this is our chance to really push this. And if it's successful, then the whole movie theater industry is going to change in a nutshell.
I agree with you.
In a minute.
Yeah.
Because once they don't need the movie theaters to get that movie to you, and they're making a substantial profit off of it, that's it. Movie theaters are over.
Yeah.
They're going to have to go for alternative content, which is what they've been slowly moving towards over the years. But now it's kind of just ramped up because of the situation that we're in.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's like, but I feel like we've been kind of headed down this road with the more and more like Netflix and like Hulu creating their own content, like creating their own movies and stuff like that. So I feel like this is the avenue that we've been going down. Now, but now you also have movie theaters themselves trying to turn themselves into bigger experiences. Like you have the Alamo Draft Houses, where you can go and get full course meals and drinks and make it an event rather than me just going to watch a movie. Because I could do that at home,
right?
You know?
And I mean. And realistically, there's a lot of home theater systems that are far superior than actual movie theaters.
Yeah.
Like like I said, I used to work at a movie theater, so I know exactly the all the technical stuff, barely, of what they had, what the capabilities are.
Yeah.
And then you buy the machine, and then it sits there for years and years and years and years and years. So even right now, if you go and buy a new TV, you're probably getting a better system than what's been sitting in a movie theater for 5, 6, 7 years.
Oh yeah, and you could just instead of having to go drive out and sit in like whatever movie chairs. I know some of them have the nice recliners and the cushioned seats, but you could sit on your own couch, get your own food, be dressed all comfortable, and just sit there and watch a movie in the comfort of your own home.
Exactly, and the fact that this is they're trying to move it, and now this is their chance. This is their opportunity to really push it.
Yeah,
and it's so weird how movies are no longer going to be movies. Like, this is what they've been trying to do. This is their opportunity to do it, and that's why it was so important that Netflix movie won for the Oscar.
Yeah,
because it legitimizes them as a movie production company.
Yeah, it makes it feasible that you could watch a perfectly produced produced movie, like at home streamed through Netflix. It's like it is on the same level as where you would go see an Endgame.
Right.
Like, it has to be on the same plane.
And that's the thing. So the movie companies just want to be able to make it that it makes that amount of money. That's that's what they're trying to figure out. Because once you release it digitally, then you get more pirates than you have right now.
Yeah.
Because right now you have pirates. One of the biggest pirate problems is overseas. They have less stringent copyright laws, and people just go into they can actually make a copy of the digital file that most movies are sent on now. It's not even film anymore, so that you can get a perfectly a perfectly digital copy of the actual movie. And there's places right now, I'm sure if you're listening, you can just go on and get a movie that's out there. I mean, that's the Wolverine movie got leaked that way.
Yep.
Somebody, it's possible right now. Well, that was how many years ago? That was a long time ago.
Wolverine was a while ago. Well, even parts of the new Star Wars trilogy got leaked quick.
So right there, it's possible now. So that's the thing they have to worry about. So if they're gonna spend $100, $200, $300 million on a film to make it, they have to be able to make sure that they get that money back.
Yeah, that's true. But even then, like, don't you think almost at this point that it's kind of a crapshoot? Because I don't believe enough people are still going to the movies. So is it enough?
See, you say that, but then people went to see Endgame. That's the
facts.
thing.
That's true. Well, I mean, but okay, but like outside of Endgame, like there was Endgame. I will give you that.
So
that is the
people
big one.
will go.
Yeah. But I don't think there's enough movies that people will go to see.
That's also true, which is another thing. That's why they have to decide how much you want to spend on the movie.
Yeah.
When you're making it, that's why Joker was such a big hit, because they didn't spend that much to make the movie.
Yeah.
And it made gangbusters as it comes back. So they're like, all right, so if we can do a model where we're only spending $100 million to make a movie, then we're golden, because we don't have to worry about distributing anything else. We just send it right to you. You're paying $5, $10 a pop, maybe $20 for a limited time. You're able to watch it, and then that's the other thing. So you have to be like, you can watch it, but then you can't steal it. Those little those little things that they have to do it. But this, as I mentioned when the Disney Plus streaming service came out, that this was the moment in time where everything shifts, because if the Disney streaming service did not do well, it would have shifted the whole thing. But now that Disney service is doing extremely well, everybody wants to have their own streaming service. That's how it just shifted the whole playing field. So now, because the movie theaters are closed, this is the time that's going to be the shift in what happens.
Oh, yeah.
So that's it for the news. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
And we're going to be right back with It Came From the Radio.
This is the Amazing Kreskin, and you're listening to It Came From the Radio.
Hi, you've heard my voice.
So
open
people
and close
listening
the
on
show.
Facebook Live,
Now we
I
want to
have
hear
no
your
idea how to
voice.
read any of
If you have a
the
business
messages
or
on here,
product,
so I will
you can
message.
record
I'll
a
respond to
commercial
them when I
here.
get home.
We offer
So
30
if you are
and
commenting,
60-second
thanks
spots.
a lot.
For more information,
it's just
contact
one of those
Mark
things. I have no
at
high-tech technology information available
mfc_studios
to
at
me.
hotmail.com.
Hey everybody, this is Todd McFarlane of the record-setting Spawn comic series. And if you're looking for any kind of cool conversation about creators, about entertainment, about all that good stuff, you go to It Came From the Radio. You're listening to the right spot.
Hey guys, I'm Christy and I'm here to make the coolest custom cake for your next event. I also do cake pops, cupcakes, cookies, you name it. So if you're searching for the perfect birthday gift, preparing for your big day, or maybe there's nothing coming up, but your sweet tooth may have just given your brain a swift kick because of me. Give me a call at 631-606-8166 or follow me at Custom Cakes by Christy INC. That's KRISTY. Thanks.
Sword of Omens, come to my hand. I, Lion-O, command it. Hi, everybody. This is Larry Kenny, the voice of Lion-O on Thundercats. And you're listening to It Came From the Radio.
Now, back to our show.
And welcome back to the Game of Radio for show, the Big Apple Con. This is your host, Mark Torres, speaking in the GHR studio with Sports Guy Tom.
Hello, hello.
As I mentioned earlier, this is a very different show. We're actually going to air an interview with Christopher Kamen Lee, the original Red Space Ranger. Well, he's the only Red Space Ranger. The interview is going to be full of curses, so if you're listening to us on the air, you have to go online on any of our digital platforms to listen to the unedited version. You can go to our website, any of those places that I mentioned. You just listen to it there. But if you're listening to it right now on the air, it's going to be an edited version. For those of you on our Facebook Live page, we're going to be talking about other stuff. So we're going to play the interview while we're talking, so you can listen to the interview, hear all the curses, or just listen to us jibber jab for a little bit. So let's play that from the PowCon right now. This is Mark Torres with It Came From the Radio. We are here live on tape at the second annual PowCon, and I am here with none other than the Red Space Ranger, played by Christopher Kamen Lee of Andros. Did Andros ever have a last name?
No.
So just Andros?
Yeah, it's just aliens don't have last names.
So...
But apparently they don't. I don't know why they don't.
So he
we were
took us
talking about
to the
how
VIP area,
basically
and we had this.
Power
We
Rangers
actually
in
thought it was going to
space
be like a 5-minute
saved the
interview,
franchise.
and he gave us a whole half an hour.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
2 years, 20,
he's actually
20 years later from Power Rangers in space, right? About 20 years.
we have pictures on our Facebook page. He's actually enjoying
So,
a
21 years,
alcoholic
20,
beverage
21 years.
at the time this is going on.
So all
He
those
kissed
years
Charlie
later,
on the lips.
There you go.
Do you still reflect on
But I
how,
wasn't there when
like,
that
at the
happened,
time,
but
so
it's
you
just
didn't know that you
so
were
I'm
saving
doing this
the
interview,
franchise.
and I'm like, all right.
Really?
And he told me something
So tell me a little
before
bit
we
about
started
that.
to record.
We totally knew about that.
And he was just dropping
yesterday
F-bombs.
we were
So I was like,
doing
oh, I
the,
better not ask
we
him
were
that
doing the
question
panel,
on the interview. And then he brings it up during the interview. I'm like, oh my God. He's searching so much.
It is, yeah, no, well, we had this similar to this, to like a whole bunch of curses. I think this had to have been like 2-3 years ago. We had Gentle J on, the tattoo artist. He was one of the tattoo artists from Ink Masters, I mean. And he came on, and the episode when me and Zambo got done, one of our other, well, obviously you know Zambo.
Zambo
We were editing. It sounded like Morse code. It was just beep 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 over and over. It was crazy.
So I believe this is a 27-minute interview, right?
Let's see. Yes, 27 minutes, 33 seconds.
So there are 37 curses in this 27-minute.
You counted?
I had to because that's what the file is.
Oh, yeah.
That has exactly where the curses are. So that way it makes it easy to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's a very smart guy.
If
I'm a writer myself, and
Okay,
if you
so
have to
The bumper that we used for right now was Larry Kenny was one of the people that we did.
Yeah.
Thundercats. Have you watched Thundercats Roar? Are you aware of Thundercats Roar?
I have no idea what that is.
Okay. So Thundercats Roar is a Teen Titans Go type version of Thundercats.
Oh, it's like they redid it, right? Yeah.
So I've seen the first 2 episodes. It has so much hate online for it, but I thought it was funny. I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know who the target audience is.
Yeah.
Because it's made for kids, but the jokes in it are people who are fans of the original show. So I'm like, there's no way that the kids would know what the original show is if they're fans of like little kids.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, if it's for them, then why are they even mentioning any callbacks or any? They're using musical cues of the original series. Why are they doing that?
Well, it's maybe similar. Maybe it's similar to how like you know how back like in the early '90s you had like Rocco, you had all the old cartoons like have the adult humor. Maybe it's because parents are gonna have to sit there and have it on their televisions on repeat with their kids, so they have to have something they can relate to it.
Maybe, but like just listening to all these people
I'm a
just throwing this out, I'm like, man, there's a lot of hatred. And so Larry Kenny, who does the voice of Lionel on Thundercats, he plays Jaga. Are you a Thundercats fan at all?
I watched it a little when I was younger.
Yeah,
I watched it a little when I was younger.
So you remember the basics, Lionel, and so that guy Lionel is now the voice of the ghost, which is Jaga in this. And they had a crossover with Teen Titans Go.
Okay.
And so online I saw this that they brought back the original voice of Lionel to be as drawn as the original Lionel. And he's like, oh, you should appreciate what's here now. And people who aren't fans of the new version are a giant poopy head. So they just insulted any of the original fans because of all the backlash. I'm like, is that what you really want to do?
I wouldn't.
Is to insult your fans? Because
you see, I could totally get the backlash because like I'm one of those people that I wouldn't say grew up because I came out when I was kind of in high school a little bit too, or probably ended junior high into high school. Like I loved the original Teen Titans cartoon.
Right.
I was the anime. It was great. I didn't think anybody should touch it. I would even love it if it had come back. And then Teen Titans Go came out, and I can't stand it. Like I get it,
but it has the same voice cast.
It does have the same voice cast.
Isn't that weird?
It is, yeah, it is weird. But it's not the same show. I don't like the goofiness and the I don't know how to explain. I just don't like the way the show is. I miss the tone. I miss the gritty superhero cartoon that I grew up or that I enjoyed watching when I was younger. But it's not for me.
So, as a Teen Titan, did you see the Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans movie? They made one.
I didn't watch the movie. I saw that they had. I saw they had the Teen Titans Go movie came, and then they had
the teaser at the end.
Teaser at the end, yeah.
But they did make a full.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've only seen the fight online. Because, everything's online. But I saw the fight. I still think I can find the humor in it.
Yeah.
So. Do you find is it because you're such a diehard fan that you are just resistant to any type of new version for Teen Titans Go, or was it just so if it was a different show that wasn't Teen Titans, would you have been like, oh, this is a funny show, or just like whatever it is, I don't like it?
No, you see, the thing was, I didn't instantly when I saw it say I hate this. I watched it. Like I gave it a chance. I watched it, and then I was just like, okay, this is not me. This is not what I'm gonna like. This is not a cartoon that I'm gonna enjoy watching. So I don't think I would instantly just hate it.
Did you spread the hate? Did you spread the hate?
Did I spread the hate? No. Well, I spread the hate on GHR. When we talk about it on GHR, I say it's absolute garbage. But no, I think it's just because I enjoyed the original. Like, I enjoyed what it was. I didn't think they had to touch it or redo it in any way. It's just like, let it be. Let the good stuff be.
Yeah. I stayed at the studios and hung out, and I constantly was working out with them. So I met and got to know all of the guys for Lost Galaxy. So before we even did the crossover episode, I already knew all of them. And Danny Slavin, who was the red guy, he played Leo in Lost Galaxy. He became like another brother to me. And in fact, we would go out every Friday, and we would go Friday or Saturday, we would go out and we would go sing karaoke. Me, him, my girlfriend at the time, and then the stuntmen. The stuntmen, almost all of them by the way, had angelic voices. Because karaoke is like it's a thing in Japan where it's like you grow up doing it. So you develop your voice. They were all fucking phenomenal singers. I am just me, so I was just crap. But the one thing that I would try to do would be, I would try to sing like Elvis songs because I like Elvis. Elvis Presley was he was a great singer, great entertainer and all that. Until I heard Danny sing Elvis, and then that fucker stole it from me. Because he was so much better at it than me, and then
I'm laughing because I'm very uncomfortable with the amount of cursing that he's doing.
And it happens. We've
you take that.
sometimes, especially like I feel like when you go out and you're doing interviews, and it's not in a studio, they lose you just lose the sense of I should probably not curse. You just wind up free flowing, just letting it rip. We took GHR on the road when we did San Diego Comic-Con last year.
Right.
And it was just the fact that we weren't sitting in the studios behind the mics that I had to catch myself from letting some curses fly the whole time because, we had some stuff happen while we were there. And I was like, wow, man, this is definitely different. Like, I definitely feel like I'm not in my element because I'm not sitting in I'm not sitting here in my chair behind a microphone.
Leo's brother, he was the...
Magna Defender.
Magna Defender, that's it. Yeah, I couldn't think of the name. Yeah.
So I've mentioned this before on the show, but
awesome guy. I love Mike.
Christopher Kamen Lee, as I'm a huge Power Ranger fan. So when I used to work at Blockbuster before I worked at the movie theater, we used to get magazines of all the upcoming releases that are coming out on video. Working at Blockbuster. And one movie was his movie, Christopher Kamen Lee's movie, starring with his sister, Chyler Lee, who, if you watch Supergirl, she plays Supergirl's sister.
Okay.
She was also in Not Another Teenage Movie. She was the pretty ugly girl.
Okay.
So it was a movie with him and his sister in it. And I was like, oh wow, I want to know what this is about. So I read up on it, and it was their brother and sister, but in the movie they play boyfriend and girlfriend. So I was like, I must see this movie. I must see how this comes out. But we never got it. It never came out. I never saw it. And then now I had the chance to talk to him, to ask him about the movie. So at the panel, I was like, I got a question. I heard of this movie 100 years ago that you and your sister were playing boyfriend and girlfriend. How was that experience? And he says, repeat that question in your mind, and then you have your answer.
I can't imagine that was a fun one to do. Because, like it's got to be some awkward Thanksgiving dinners going forward.
And I'm like, I wonder what happened, like, in the production. So it was something I just want to know. There's certain things that I've been years that I just wanted to know.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of those things. Like, if I ever run into Kevin Smith, I have a Kevin Smith question I've been dying to know for years. In Mallrats, my favorite Kevin Smith movie, they were in the elevator when Ben Affleck's character and Shannon Doherty's character was having sex in the elevator. And while they were waiting for the elevator to come, they were playing an elevator waiting music. And that music, that waiting music, was the same music from the Blues Brothers when they were waiting in the elevator at the end of the movie. And I was like, well, I always wanted to ask him, was that on purpose? Did you pick that movie? Or was it just some generic elevator music sound?
That's a good question.
And like, no one's ever asked him. No one's ever. So I'm putting it out there right now. Like, this is something I've been dying to know. If was it on purpose?
Yeah.
So it's just those little things, and this was one thing that I had in my mind for all these years.
Well, dude, that is totally understandable. Like, any time that, if you had a movie, I can't imagine, I don't have a sister, but I can't imagine that's a fun movie to be shooting if I have to play my sister as my girlfriend.
And
no way that's fun.
So to put this into perspective, Aaron, the guy who did Kick-Ass, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh man.
He played Quicksilver in Ultron.
Okay, I forgot.
Taylor, Aaron, it's a combination of Taylor, Aaron, and something like that. So he and Elizabeth Olsen.
I know I gotta throw in some shit there for Tommy, and I gotta throw in some shit there for Jason and all that. Yeah, it's cool. And I was like, yeah, man, that's cool. But he was like, no, this is you. You did this. And I was just like, yo, Fuck yeah.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Haha, I was close.
You were close.
So Aaron
Then
Taylor
after
Johnson
that,
and Elizabeth Olsen,
We're now at the
brother and
past the
sister,
25th anniversary.
in Avengers: Age
Are
of
you thinking
Ultron.
about, would you ever come back
They
for a
also
30th
played husband and
anniversary,
wife
or would you come back
in Godzilla.
again? Fly
Okay,
to
but that one's a little. That one's a
I'm
little
just saying
different.
that,
Yeah.
but it's weird that you're cast with somebody and
Yeah.
you're like playing one your
And one is
brother and
that
sister and one your husband and wife,
they let my character
or like in
change his goddamn hair.
Baywatch.
Because
Yeah.
At The Rock
at no point
with
am I going to wear
the
wig.
girl was like the
Because I
sex
wore a
object
wig.
in the movie, but then another movie she played
I was
his
away
daughter.
for,
It's just those weird
for
little things.
Red.
But this one is your real life sister.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I wonder what kind of movie it is.
on
And so when he said that, I was like, oh, I guess that's I'm never gonna get a real answer.
Yeah.
And then before we did this interview, I was like, because when he saw me, he was like,
It was
you were at the
ridiculous. It was
panel.
terrible.
So obviously I made an impression.
With that question,
And
absolutely.
I'm like, look, I'm sorry. You know, I tried to explain why I came from that. And then he was like, you don't want to watch that movie. You just do not want to watch that movie. So now it makes me want to watch it more.
Like you got to find a copy of it. I mean, like I would want to watch it to see how the interaction on camera went, because it can't I understand what acting experience aside, acting skills aside, there has to be some awkwardness when dealing with your girlfriend in that movie, because it is real life your sister. Like there's no ways around it. I don't care how many takes you did, how many edits there were. There's weirdness there.
I mean, it could have been just as innocent as holding hands. You know, I don't even know what type of movie it was because I never saw it.
If it's a boyfriend girlfriend, there's going to be a romantic scene in that movie once, at least once.
Maybe.
One cuddling in the bed, and it's like, please, this is weird.
Maybe. I mean, it could have been made for kids. So all you got was
That's
hand
true.
holding.
That's true. That's true.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Like maybe this movie that I'm making up in my head is way worse
Yeah.
than anything I could see.
Like, is it any? Like, it's not streamable anymore.
It's called Ninja Academy, and no, I can't find any evidence of it at
Not
all.
even on potentially illegal streaming sites.
So I'm
Or
not
pirating sites.
I'm not that familiar with pirating sites, as I've mentioned, but me being not tech guy, I'm sure it's out there. But that would imply that somebody put it on there.
Facts. Yeah. That's true.
So, is there somebody out there who had the fourth right to put this on the internet? Because this is pre-internet, so
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, if it was made now,
Yeah.
I can find it somewhat easier.
Oh yeah.
But this is blockbusters in the '90s.
Yeah. So
like-
he might have bought up all those DVDs and just buried them or burned them somewhere.
Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I really want to know, just to see how
the dynamic worked. It's got to be awkward. I can't imagine.
So curious. And this is my life right here. This is years and years. This part of my brain is holding on to this.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I will say, when I did the Paul Reubens Peewee Herman panel near Comic-Con, I was in the audience. I've mentioned this on the show before. And my highlight of my Comic-Con experience, I was first to ask Paul Reubens a question at the panel. And I was like, I had this question for years. Once again, it's something that it was in the back of my head, and I was like, here's what I want to know. But because I was the first person online to ask a question, it dawned on me, like, you know, I have this, I can make a moment. So I decided to ask him two questions. First question, which if you go on YouTube, you can actually see the entire panel, New York Comic Con, Paul Reubens panel, and my voice is the first person to ask the question. You a Pee Wee Herman fan by chance?
Oh, love Pee Wee.
First question, crowd full of people, Paul Reubens right there. What's your question? What's today's secret word? Whole audience went crazy. They were like, yes! I was like, wow. Because of me, I made this moment for everybody in this room. And then throughout the entire panel, whenever he said the everybody went crazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I was like, I felt the love for that making that experience.
That's cool.
And I also got to ask my question, which was burning. So Pee Wee's Big Adventure, he had the bike.
Yeah.
It's like that. And then
Pee Wee Playhouse, no bike. Years. I was like, why didn't he use the bike? Why was there no bike on Pee Wee's Playhouse? Why? Where'd the bike go? Where'd the bike? Years. So I asked him that. And he was like, wow,
One of my
that's a really good
favorite
question.
things,
And I
right?
love
Because
whenever I
it is
ask somebody
it's a
like that and they say it's a good question, that makes me feel good.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's like they've been asked multiple questions in their whole life, especially throughout their life in entertainment. When you can stump them on one that they've never gotten
Right.
before, it's a little bit of feels good. Big J journalism.
And he said,
Every issue
I haven't really
has-
thought about this,
every issue has
you know,
at least
since
one
forever.
spot
So the
where
answer was, the
people
short
are
answer was,
fucking
because it was just
it
funny
is
what Paul just went off on tangents.
You see everything. You see
hear that?
cum shots. You see, dicks on
You hear this?
faces,
Oh my
you see
God!
this?
What an interview.
So, yeah, that's my shit, man. And
yeah.
I love it.
See?
And the artist.
Don't worry, Zambo will have this whole thing lined out for him.
Davy
So,
Jones.
I don't know if you guys heard that. He was like, hardcore porn, and then he just went into detail. So in my head, I was like, oh my God, what is happening right now? So going back to Peewee, so Paul Reubens answered the question, and then he went off like on a 5-minute tangent. So it was very interesting of how he answered. So the short answer was that when the movie was out, they were working on the TV series. Warner Brothers owned the movie. Therefore, they owned all the stuff in the movie, which part of it was the bike. So they never thought about using the bike on the show because they owned it. It wasn't even an idea. They just used something else. That's the answer. I'm like, wow. How about that?
Yeah.
That's such a simple answer about why they didn't transfer it. Something I would have never thought of on my own, but I was so glad that I got that out.
Well, it must have felt so awesome because it's just like, because I could understand something like that just being absolutely bugged because like that's the big point of the Pee-wee movie, and then, like just to not have it throughout the rest of his show is just ridiculous.
So these things in my mind all the time. And I'm like, if I ever run into this guy. Let's see over here.
People who want to be Power Rangers, people want to be actors.
Oh, this was a good one.
One piece of advice would you say?
I do have something for that. It's the exact same. I think it would be the exact same advice that one of my very, very, very good friends, who also is a Red Ranger, or was Brendan Mejia. He was on Dragon.
Oh, I spoke to him. He was
Thunder,
on the show.
Dragon Force. I don't know, whatever the fuck it was. I don't know what the hell. I don't watch Power Rangers.
Dino Charge.
Dino Charge, yeah, something like that. I don't know what the fuck it ever is. Him and Yoshi, they were on the same season. Whatever, I don't care. He
So
and
the
Yoshi
question
are
I
very
had
good friends.
just
I
asked
don't
him was
watch their series
for
because I don't
kids.
expect them to watch mine.
But it's like, because I was trying to go back from the non-cursing, and then he was just.
It happens. It totally happens. But I have a question. Regarding your enjoyment of Pee-wee. Did you see Pee-wee on Broadway?
Not just for Power
I
Rangers,
did.
but if you're gonna audition
My
for
God,
anything,
I had to go.
It's the only Broadway show I've ever seen.
It was such, like, we were
With the
late
mentality.
because of the traffic getting in there.
Yeah.
So
hard,
I didn't
but
see the
with their
very
mentality
beginning
that
of it, and it took me like a year or so before they put it on cable
You don't
to
want
see it. So I missed the Pledge of
you don't
Allegiance,
want it because I went
and
in
I
there
missed
with the mentality. See, when I first
like
got
the
when
very,
I
very,
got the
very
call
beginning.
to,
But the lady who was
audition
at the
for
entrance,
Power
she was like, "Oh, you have to wait. They're performing right now.
again,
We're gonna wait till there's a
remember,
lull, and we'll let
when
you
I was
in."
15,
So when they opened the door,
all I heard was Tommy.
it was Playhouse. It was already on. It was everything was happening. It was such a magical. One of the things, it was just a magical experience. So I wasn't there when they lifted the curtain. I just walked into the Playhouse. I was like, oh my God.
It was so cool, right? That they were able to take everything. Like there wasn't I felt like there was almost not even a detail missed. They just took everything from the set.
Yeah.
Were able to condense it onto one stage.
And when Cherry danced,
yeah,
when she stood up, I was like, oh my God.
it was so cool.
That was a highlight of my Peewee Herman-ness. And seeing what was it, Phil Lamar take over for Lawrence Fishburne was kind of cool.
Oh, it was great.
And how they changed it from the original. Like I can see the tweaks, why they tweaked it. I'm like, it was just as good as the original. Like, have you ever seen the original play on TV?
No, I haven't.
So that Broadway play was a changed version, updated version of the original Peewee Herman play that he did, which you can find on YouTube. Just go on YouTube. It's the original play, and it has Phil Hartman as Captain Carl, as opposed to Cowboy Curtis. So they swapped that out because Phil Hartman died.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same play, it's just updated for the Playhouse. And this is before the Playhouse was happening. I think this was before the movie, before everything. This is where he started. So it's on YouTube, and it's amazing how more adult it was.
Yeah.
For the time, and then you can see what they changed, but it was There's a good updated version. If you love the Broadway show, you should go online and go look
I will
for.
now.
I think it was originally aired on HBO. So it took me years to actually see that on videotape when I was working at Blockbuster. I was like, oh, I didn't know this existed.
Yeah.
And it was like I think this was years since I've seen it. He got mirror shoes to look up women's skirts.
Yeah.
In the play. Like oh you can look. What was the joke? It was he was wearing shoes with his friend and they were looking up I think it was Miss Yvonne's skirt. And he's like, oh, you trying to look up my shirt? Well, you don't have to worry about that. I'm not wearing any underwear. And they're like, yeah, like I said, it was more adult, but it was still the same Peewee Herman thing. And it had, the Mecca Like a High, Mecca Hiney Hole, it had all that stuff, all the beats.
Yep.
And the Broadway show had most of the original cast. He had the original Miss Yvonne, he had the original John B. So I was like, and most of the puppeteers were the original puppeteers from the Playhouse.
Yeah.
So it was such a magical experience, and it was my second thing I've ever seen on Broadway. So, oh my God, it was just so
It was
great.
still that is the first and only thing I've ever seen on Broadway, and I get people laughing at me every time I say that, but it was just like, it was such an unreal experience, because when I heard I was going to see Pee-wee on Broadway, I had no idea what to expect. I had the last thing I'd seen of Pee-wee was the old tape, VHS tapes I used to have when I was a kid. And then just watching the curtain come up and just seeing the Playhouse again, I was instantly brought back to when I was 10 years old. I was like, oh my God, this is about to be amazing. And Paul Reubens just absolutely tore the house down.
It's like he didn't miss a beat. It's like no time had passed.
Exactly.
And I was like, wow. And then the part with the promissory ring was new.
Yeah.
The ring was new. That was funny.
That was very funny. What I did find funny was Miss Yvonne is apparently Charlie Kelly's mom in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Really?
Yep. The original Miss Yvonne is Bonnie Kelly from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I did not know that.
It's hilarious.
And the ShamWow was new. The ShamWow guy.
Yes.
That became the ghost of ShamWow.
Yes. That was good.
I went there with my friend, and he wasn't a big fan of Pee-wee. He knew of Pee-wee.
Yeah.
He saw the movie, as just about everybody did.
Yeah.
And he liked it. So I'm like, it was good for people who were diehard fans, and it was good for regular fans. It was a great time had by all. And I felt that I missed my moment at that time with Pee-wee. Because at the end of the play, you're giving a standing ovation. I was like, somebody should yell out, Pee-wee, Pee-wee. And I didn't. And I was like, I should have done it.
Yeah.
That would have been my time.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they would have had a Pee-wee chant.
Yeah.
In the audience, because it was so great.
Because everybody clearly loved it.
Oh man.
I wonder if we ever see if it ever makes a little bit of a not comeback. I don't want to say, but if we ever see maybe a special or we see something pop up on a streaming service.
He's trying to get another movie made. I know that, but because of the lukewarm reception that the latest movie had, it's being more difficult.
Yeah.
Because I did not care for that movie.
I didn't actually see the newest one.
It wasn't. It's not worth it. Like waiting all this time, because you saw Pee-wee's Big Adventure, then you saw Big Top Pee-wee. Big Top Pee-wee was alright, but there was no Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It was huge.
It was a big drop off. Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, there was one good one, one not good one. So then this one. I'm like, this is his chance to make it better, and then we'll have two good ones, one not so good one. And I was like, it just wasn't there. And I talked to people, and I'm like, maybe because Phil Hartman is gone, and he might have been the undertone of the show. He might be the missing piece that might have just had the show not have its same feel and authenticity. Because he was not part of the second movie, and because I believe they had a falling out.
Yeah.
During the course of the Pee-wee's Playhouse, because Captain Carl, which is Phil Hartman, who played the voice of Troy McClure, it was a tragic death. He stepped away and he went on to do news radio at the time. So he was doing something else. And then the other movie came out and it wasn't as good. And even like I said, even this play, which was based on the original play, which is why it was so good, it wasn't an original piece. So this new Pee-wee movie was an original thing. So I'm like, So, and Judd Apatow was producing it.
Social media time. So where can people get a hold of you?
So
contact you,
I'm
all that
like,
fun stuff?
It's kind of surprising. Apatow's pretty good at nailing something.
But it's a whole. Danny Elfman is no Judd Apatow. They're not. It's not the same thing. It's not the same tone. It's not the same feel. So I think that Phil Hartman, Paul Reubens, and Danny Elfman had that magic moment together. So I think if he ever wants to do another one, he would have to get at least Danny Elfman to be part of it somehow.
Yeah, get as much as you can of the original, original core.
And in the New York Comic Con panel, like I said on YouTube, he actually reminisces about Danny Elfman. He was like, and he almost came to tears, which was amazing. He was so emotional about the movie. He's like, I had these visions.
I want to thank you very much for this.
And Danny Elfman just did it. It was exactly what he envisioned was on the screen. He's like, it brings such a
That's awesome.
tear.
That's awesome.
Really appreciate it.
Well, it's just awesome because you just know how much it actually affected him, like how much that actually was like good for him on the inside.
Thank you, Mark, from the past. As I mentioned, it was a lot of cursies on there. You've heard some of it on the Facebook live feed, and it'll be on our YouTube page, and it'll be on all our digital media outlets. So if you want to hear the unedited version, that's where you want to go. If you want to hear the clean version, go to the radio stations that you're listening to now. In addition to BeyondTheDomeStudios.com. So that's about it. Do you have a final thought for us, Sports Guy Tom?
Final thought is
should you use still Sports Guy Tom if there's no sports?
Distressed Sports Guy Tom, because that's everybody. My final thoughts are just everybody stay safe out there. Make sure you wash your hands. Don't go touching your face with dirty hands and getting yourself some coronavirus. And if you're sick, stay home.
All right, so my final thought is this. We're going to be taking this as a week-to-week basis, but our show will continue, so we'll be still having new episodes every Monday being released. I'm not sure about the Facebook Live stuff, but we will be doing shows, so at least we'll still be here doing our best to try and entertain you while you guys all are locked down and quarantined or self-quarantined or self-distancing or whatever term they're using it, but you're at home. So that about does it for this week on It Came From the Radio. Join us right here.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Okay, so actually, people, I'm actually going to start try saying this a little bit too. If you're sitting home and you're quarantined, don't know what to do, make yourself a podcast. Do this yourself. Sit down, sit behind a microphone, and make yourself create something for yourself, because it might wind up being something that you have fun doing, and kind of keeps yourself sane throughout this whole crazy time.
So we support the independent artiist. So turn into an independent artist and support your independent artist.
Exactly.
If you can, if you're able to. If you can't do it financially, share. Do all that social media stuff. That way, people who might be able to or in a better financial position can help these guys out, because the financial crisis is going to be pretty bad for the next couple of months, maybe even a couple of years. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So that about does it for this week on It Came From the Radio. Join us right here and every week on this radio station. If you missed any part of our show, go to our website, www.itcamefromtheradio.com. Listen to archives will be up in a week or so, as I already mentioned. All the digital platforms and earlier the show, you want to hear us there. We have a YouTube page, a Facebook page, a Twitter account. So follow us on all that stuff, and then we'll see you next week.
You've been listening to It Came From the Radio with Mark Torres. The views of the show's hosts and guests did not necessarily reflect that of the management, owners, or staff of the station. We now return you to your earthly scheduled broadcast.
All right, so that is our recording of our behind-the-scenes show on Facebook Live. As I mentioned, we're doing this by a week-to-week basis, so I'm not sure what's going to happen next week, if we'll be in the studio or not, but we will be releasing new shows every Monday, as we always have. And if things go well, fingers crossed, we still have the live show, which is going to be on the 15th of April. That's at the Samani Mall. That's a month away, so maybe by a month we'll be all right. That's at the Samani Mall, also known as the Source Mall. That's at 7 p.m. with Kelly Gordon will be our guest. He'll be talking about the MCon, which is in May. It's a free event, so he'll be promoting that. And I think that's it. So since I have you here, is there anything you want to mention to people who are listening to the Facebook Live stuff and also the YouTube page that won't be able to know about while we're doing our show? Anything you want to mention, any house cleaning things that you do?
No, other than make sure tune into the Grindhouse, tune into us, the Grindhouse Radio, every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will still be pumping out shows, and I do a Disney show with my one of my co-hosts on GHR called The Magic Kim Tom, that we put out every Monday. At Mondays around like 7 p.m. So after you're done listening to It Came From the Radio, pop on and listen to the Magic Kim Tom if you're a big Disney fan.
All right. I guess it was a like, subscribe, and all that other fun stuff.
Rate,
on the
review,
YouTube
subscribe.
page. And we'll see you next time. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Have a good one.